Number 8. In the early 80s, the French decided to cook up something quirky, sleek, and surprisingly sporty, and out popped the Matra Murena. Built by Matra, a company better known for racing glory and wild concepts than mass production, the Murena was the last hurrah in a lineage that included the Bagheera and the Rancho. It was born from a partnership with Simca, which by this time had been gobbled up by Talbot, which itself was under PSA Peugeot Citroën. The Murena S was the swan song variant introduced in 1983 and only lasted until production ended in 1984. Around 480 examples of the S were made. It featured a hot-rodded version of the standard 2.2-liter inline-4 engine, tuned to a thrilling for the time 140 horsepower. That meant 0 to 60 in about 8.2 seconds. And the fact that it had 3 seats across like a McLaren F1's eccentric French cousin. What truly makes the Murena special, though, is its fully galvanized chassis, the world's first in a production car. Combine that with pop-up headlights, mid-engine layout, and the general sense that it was designed by a team of sci-fi-loving daydreamers, and you've got a true oddball gem. Number 7. Fast forward to 1985 and the Pantera had morphed into the GT5S, the final evolution of the original model. Unlike the wild rivet-on GT5 before it, the GT5S featured smoother, steel-integrated fender flares, giving it a more refined, yet still very angry, look. Only around 187 units of the GT5S were built between 1985 and 1990, making it rarer than a Ferrari owner who uses their turn signal. Under the hood, you still got the glorious Ford 351 Cleveland V8, tuned to around 350 horsepower, which gave it the kind of burly, low-end torque that could roast tires and scare pedestrians in equal measure. It was loud, fast, and not particularly subtle, basically the automotive equivalent of a leather jacket wearing a gold chain. Despite being a limited-run model, the GT5S was surprisingly livable, with leather interiors, air conditioning, and a ride that didn't break spines. Stylish, savage, and completely unbothered by modern restraint, the GT5S is proof that the 80s weren't all shoulder pads and synth pop. Sometimes they were pure V8 thunder. Number 6. Autech, Nissan's in-house tuning and customization division, wanted to build a luxury performance car unlike anything else on the road. So naturally, they called up Zagato, the Italian design house best known for penning curvy exotics and adding a few extra zeros to price tags. What came out of this cross-cultural experiment in 1989 was the Stelvio AZ1, a car that looks like it came from a parallel universe where origami and turbochargers rule the world. Underneath the sharp-edged, handcrafted aluminum body was a Nissan Leopard chassis, complete with a turbocharged 3-liter V6 pushing out around 276 horsepower. It wasn't just fast, it was packed with tech, including all the luxury bells and whistles Nissan could muster. And exclusive it was. Only 104 units were ever made. Each car was built by hand in Milan, meaning you got the quirks of Italian craftsmanship and the reliability, hopefully, of Japanese engineering in one angular, turbocharged package. Number 5. Born in the mid-1980s, this collaboration between Aston Martin and legendary Milanese coach builder Zagato was meant to create the ultimate Grand Tourer, fast, exclusive, and drop-dead gorgeous, or at least distinctive, depending on how you feel about its chunky wedge styling. The project kicked off in 1984 when Aston decided to give its long-serving V8 Vantage a glamorous send-off. Zagato was tasked with crafting a lighter, sharper, more exotic-looking body, and the result debuted at the 1986 Geneva Motor Show to plenty of dropped jaws, some from awe, others from surprise. Under the aluminum skin sat Aston's trusty 5.3-liter V8, tuned to around 430 horsepower with Weber carburetors, giving it a 0 to 60 time of about 4.6 seconds before reaching a top speed of 186 miles per hour. Exclusivity was key. Only 52 coupes were built between 1986 and 1990, followed by 37 convertibles. Each was hand-assembled, and buyers included serious collectors and a few celebrities who wanted something a Ferrari owner couldn't smugly point to in his driveway. Number 4. The Esprit itself had been around since 1976, designed by Giugiaro in his trademark folded paper style, but by 1980, Lotus decided it was time for a turbocharged kick. Enter Essex Petroleum, the flamboyant sponsor of Lotus's F1 team at the time, whose name and bold blue-red-silver livery would be splashed all over this special edition. The Essex Turbo Esprit debuted at London's Royal Albert Hall in 1980 because apparently car launches in the 80s needed to be just as dramatic as rock concerts. Under the sharp fiberglass shell lurked a 2.2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, pushing out around 210 horsepower, enough to sprint the lightweight wedge from 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. Only 45 Essex Turbo Esprits were built between 1980 and 1981. Each one was painted in that unmistakable livery, ensuring you couldn't sneak anywhere without being spotted. Number 3. Back in the late 70s, Schultz was working for Porsche and moonlighting on his own design projects. One of them became the Mercedes-Benz CW311, a stunning concept car with gull-wing doors and outrageous aerodynamics. Mercedes had no intention of building it, so Schultz, clearly allergic to giving up, founded his own company, Isdera, and in 1984 started making his dream car a reality. The production version, named Imperator 108i, kept the wild gull-wing doors, the low wedge shape, and the periscope rear-view mirror sticking out of the roof like a submarine scope. Underneath, it used a tubular steel chassis and, in true German muscle fashion, a big Mercedes-sourced 5 to 6-liter V8 depending on the year, making anywhere from 240 to 390 horsepower. The car was hand-built, literally by appointment only, and customers had to call Schultz personally to order one. Talk about boutique service. Between 1984 and 1993, only about 30 units were produced. Each one was slightly different as Isdera customized them to buyer preferences. Number 2. In the mid-1980s, Ruf Automobile, led by Alois Ruf, wasn't content with just modifying Porsches. They were recognized as a manufacturer in their own right, meaning they could take a Porsche 911 shell, strip it bare, and rebuild it their way. In 1987, they unveiled the CTR, which would soon earn the Yellowbird nickname, thanks to its bright paint and the way it devoured straights like an angry canary on rocket fuel. The CTR started life as a narrow-body Porsche 911 Carrera 3.2, but Ruf swapped in a heavily modified 3.4-liter twin-turbo flat-six, pumping out 469 horsepower, mind-melting for the era. It weighed just 2,535 pounds thanks to aluminum panels and a stripped-down interior, and came with a Ruf-designed 5-speed gearbox built to handle all that power. The result? A top speed of 213 miles per hour, enough to make Ferraris and Lamborghinis of the day look like they were stuck in second gear. In fact, it became the fastest production car in the world at the time. Only 29 Yellowbirds were built between 1987 and 1996, making it extremely rare. Number 1. Born in Australia in the late 1980s, it was the brainchild of race driver Paul Halstead and ex-F1 engineer Barry Locke, who wanted to build a homegrown supercar capable of taking on Europe's finest. The plan started with the mid-engined Alfa Romeo Sprint platform, light, stylish, and Italian, but the team quickly realized the original Alfa Flat 4 wasn't exactly going to scare a Ferrari. So, in true Aussie fashion, they swapped it for a mid-mounted Holden 5-liter V8, because if in doubt, add cubes and grunt. The name Group B was a cheeky nod to the infamous rally category banned in 1986 for being too wild, too fast, and too dangerous. 3 qualities the Giocattolo was happy to channel. With around 300 horsepower pushing just over a ton of weight, it could sprint to 60 in under 5 seconds. Handling was sharp thanks to its compact size and bespoke suspension tuning, but the real party trick was the soundtrack. A deep V8 bellow that echoed off the Australian hills like a petrol-powered didgeridoo. Production, however, was as limited as the patience of the Australian government for small-volume car makers. Only 15 cars were ever completed before the company folded in 1989, making it rarer than a kangaroo in a tuxedo.